Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to solve one-step equations, and your EQ is how do I accurately solve one-step equations? Okay, so when solving one-step equations, it is important to ask yourself what operation is currently being done and what is the opposite operation. So we're going to work through a couple problems together, and then you're going to finish the worksheet on your own, and we're going to discuss what is it that what exactly do I mean by operation and opposite operation. So number 1 on your paper says x plus 4 equals 12. What you're going to do every single time you see an equation like this, you're going to draw what I like to call a mirror down your equal sign, just like that. So on your paper, go ahead and do that. And basically what that mirror is saying is that whatever you do to that left-hand side, you also have to do to the right-hand side. Our end goal in solving one-step equations is to get an answer where it just says x equals, and then we have our answer. So in order to get to that point, we have to get rid of this positive 4. Now, if we think back to our integers unit, we know that opposites, when we add two opposite numbers together, or two opposite integers together, it equals 0. So we have positive 4, and then if we take away 4 from that, we're going to end up with 0. They cancel each other out. Then our mirror tells us that if we take away 4 from the left-hand side, we also have to take away 4 from the right-hand side. So now we're left with just that x on the left-hand side, x equals, and 12 minus 4 is 8. So looking back at our notes from this, it says it's important to ask yourself what operation. In this case, we were adding 4. And then the opposite operation of adding 4 is to subtract 4. So that's exactly what we did. I know this sounds a little confusing right now, but let's do a few more and you'll get the hang of it, I promise. Okay, so looking at number 2, it says y minus 8 equals 15. All right, so our first thing is we want to draw the mirror down our equal sign. Okay, now we got to figure out what operation is currently being done. In this problem, we're subtracting 8. What's the opposite of subtracting 8? It's to add 8. So if we add 8 to the left-hand side, we also have to add 8 to the right-hand side. And then the negative 8 or minus 8 plus 8, they cancel each other out. We're left with y equals, and then 15 plus 8 is 23. Okay, so they're going to start to get a little bit trickier. In this one, we have fractions now. So we have 2 1/2 plus x equals 4 1/4. We're going to solve this one just like we would solve any other problem. We're going to start by drawing our mirror down our the center of our equal sign. Then we're going to ask ourselves, what are we currently doing to the 2 1/2? This is like having a positive sign. So we're adding 2 1/2. We need to take away 2 1/2 in order to get x by itself. So we're going to take away 2 1/2 from the left. Our mirror tells us that we have to take away 2 1/2 from the right then. And now we're left with x equals. But we have x equals 4 1/4 minus 2 1/2. So this takes us back to 5th grade with adding and subtracting fractions. We know that we need a common denominator, but let's first make these improper fractions. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17 over 4, minus, and then we have 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5 over 2. Our common denominator is going to be 4. I'm going to have to move over here to the left. So I have 17 over 4 minus, and then I have to multiply 2 by 2 and the 5 by 2. That way we can get a common denominator of 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. Now we subtract across the top, and you keep the denominator the same, and you're left with 7/4 is your final answer. Okay, so let's take a look at number 4. It says y minus 3 1/8 equals 2 1/4. All right, start by drawing your mirror. Ask yourself, how are we going to get that y by itself? We're currently subtracting 3 1/8, so we want to add 3 1/8. And then we have to do the same thing on the other side, so plus 3 1/8. When those cancel each other out, we're left with y equals 2 1/4 plus 3 1/8. Again, we need a common denominator in order to add these fractions. I think it's easier to just make them improper fractions because you're going to end up having to do that anyways on your EOG. So just get in the habit of doing it now. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9 over 4 plus 8 times 3 is 24 plus 1 is 25 over 8. Our common denominator is going to be 8, so let's multiply the first fraction by 2. 9 times 2 is 18 over 8 plus 25 over 8 equals 43 over 8. Okay, the next one is a pretty familiar one. We've been doing it all year. 3x equals 15. That's saying 3 times x is equal to 15. Draw your mirror, just for the sake of this. We are currently multiplying, right, because 3 times x. What's the opposite of multiplication? The opposite is division. So we're going to divide by 3 on both sides, and we're left with x equals 5. Now let's take a look at number 6. We have x over 4 equals 7. Okay. When we look at the left-hand side, what we're doing is x divided by 4. That's what that line means. That's what a fraction is. Okay. The opposite of division is multiplication. So we're going to multiply by 4 on both sides. And when we multiply by 4, those cancel out and we're left with x equals 28. Okay, now let's take a look if we're multiplying and dividing fractions. We have 1/2 x equals 4 1/2. Now looking at this problem right away, you want to say that the answer is 4, because 1/2 times 4 you would think is equal to 4 1/2, just looking at it. Okay, don't make that mistake on your test. Don't make that mistake ever. That is not what the answer is. So this one, it's like saying 1/2 times x. What's the opposite of multiplication? It's division. Okay, so we're going to divide by 1/2 and divide by 1/2. Now, 1/2 divided by 1/2 is just 1, so they cancel out, and we're left with x equals. Now we need to make the 4 1/2 into an improper fraction. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9 over 2 divided by 1/2. The rule for dividing fractions is keep, change, flip. So you keep the first, change it to multiplication, flip the last. Now we can simplify before we multiply. The 2's cancel and they become 1's, and we're just left with 9. Do you see how that's much different than 4? So x equals 9 for this one. Now, that type of problem is very important, so let's do one more together. We have 1/3 y equals 3 1/3. All right, this is like saying we're multiplying 1/3 times y. The opposite of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide by 1/3. They cancel each other out. We're left with y equals, which is what we want, and then we divide by 1/3 on the other side. 3 1/3 as an improper fraction. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10 over 3 divided by 1/3. You do keep, change, flip. Keep the first, change it to multiplication, flip the last. The 3's cancel each other out, and we're left with 10. So y equals 10. I know this was a longer video. I'm sorry about that, you guys. Go ahead and finish up whatever notes you were taking. Rewind this if you need to go back, because this is a very important video. If you have any questions, come and see me. If not, go ahead and get going on the rest of this worksheet.